Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight we will have the session titled the research issues or the common issues faced by junior researcher and the postgraduate students, mainly the master and PhD student. So I have accumulated a few issues that I'm, in my opinion, based on my experience, that those issues are the most common issues the students are facing, and also from the experience of examining and sharing the Viva sessions for several times, I can tell that this issues is the most issues that the student failed to answer and defense it in the Viva or the proposal defense. So the first issues I believe is the starting point, or how to start, how to organize your research, how to be good, how to create value of your research, and originality, novelty, and so on. The second issue we will have is the problem statement, how we design problem statement, how we write and put in formal way the research problem, convincing research problem discussion. After that, we will discuss the issue related to the literature review and also the literature gap. Finally, we will discuss the research, the theoretical framework and the conceptual framework. We will discuss the difference between them, and as well we will discuss where to put it in the research. For each one of this, we will not give much time. We will not go in details on them. Those issues we will tackle how important it is, what is the common issues in each one of those problems that faced by the student, and as well we will discuss what is the tactics or the techniques to overcome those issues. So we will start after a while in the first issue, which is the how to start doing the research.
Okay. So how to start? The first step, how to start, we need to know our field. We need to know what we are going to do. We need to know all the dimensions or the component of our field. So let's say we are planning to do something related to the Islamic banking, let's say. So we need to understand what is Islamic banking, definitions. We shouldn't miss any definition of any particular product of Islamic banking. We should know the law, the Islamic law, the fiqh mu'amala that related to that thing. How we do it? First, we need to read. Second, we need to ask. Third, we need to attend. What to read? We need, first, in the beginning, we need to read the title. In general, we need to start by reading titles of magazines, title of any previous research, titles of theses, dissertations, and also if we go to the more specific in the abstract. If we found a few titles that is interesting, so we go to the abstract. If we interested in that particular studies, we move to the recommendations for the future research and limitation. And if we found the key article or the key dissertation or the key what we call article in magazine, so that article we need to read it fully. After that, we need to ask we also need to ask while we are doing that. We need to ask colleagues, we need to ask experts, we need to ask academician in social media. Now we have a few social media in Facebook. They have some academicians, they have pages in Facebook, also LinkedIn, also the ResearchGate. You can put your questions over there and ask them any question that you are not clear about it. Supervisors, also you ask if you are a student, but for me, I would suggest the student to start by asking the senior students, the senior colleagues, because it is easy to ask them and get information from them. And I believe going to the expert, going to the social media with silly questions is not acceptable. It's not acceptable from even a junior researcher. So I prefer the student to start by asking questions to the senior students and then move on to the other expert, either academicians in the social media or the supervisors. And then try to find the conferences, workshops, documentary movies, watch those kind of materials. Now with this pandemic and also with this booming of the internet and so on, now so many conferences are in the YouTube. They record it and put it in the YouTube. So you have no excuse to say, I cannot fly over to other country to attend such conference. So attend or try to watch the related conferences, because in the conferences, in those kind of conferences, they bring you with the contemporary, with the new issues related to the field that you are in. Okay, so here I will focus more in what to read, because reading is the main tool of research. So what to read? We break it down. First, we need to read published paper, and we should focus in top ranking journals first. So we focus in the top journals, and we are aware that the top journals or the referred journals, Q1, Q2, Q3, all in English. 99%, 95% of the journals are in English. So you need to have the English tool, minimum English tool to understand what you are reading. You can translate for sure. Now we have Google Translate and other software. You can use it, but in the end, you still need to have your own English to bridge you to the knowledge. And try to focus in on the recent research or recent publications. 5 years, not more than 5 years. And then discussing, you need to also to read the related law, regulations, standards, issues. So if we are talking about auditing, or if you are talking about human, if your research is about human rights, so we need to read all of the laws and regulations, the international standards, rules and standards about the human rights. And then you also need to read the academic social media updates on your field. You may go for also for the master and PhD thesis. And this one you can find it in the database, the ProQuest, and also in the library of universities. Okay, so by reading and listening and asking, then you will, I would suggest you to be smart and have your mind map for your research idea. In the starting point, you need to have research mind map. What mind map? You need to draw the main idea that you are focusing on. Let's say you are focusing on what we call, let's say, the human resource. So from human resource, you will divide the the subtitles about the let's say about the functions of the human resource. Then you will put another functions or another subtitle of this mind map about the factors affecting the human resource functions. And then
نسوي كيكة.
sorry, I'm trying to mute any new. Okay, so we need to check time by time those the new joining for the session. Okay, so by putting the mind map, I believe you will start to understand your area, understanding the structure of the field in terms of the variables, and then you need to do your second reading and review should be narrowed based on your research mind map. So the second reading, I believe it is kind of writing notes about what you find in the beginning, what you find in the map. You are oh my God. Okay. So I'm sorry for this. I supposedly everyone mute, but until now we still receive some people noise. Anyhow, so by having this, we will we need to be structured and organized. We need to take notes in what we are reading. We need to maybe to have a table. We will discuss what kind of table when we discuss the literature review, and we need to be smart in reading and also smart thinker. What we mean by smart reader? Smart reader, now we need to, if you remember the previous slide, we said we read the title, then we, to be smart, if we find something interesting, then we need to go to the abstract. Don't read the abstract for every article you found and so on. So you just see the keywords in the title. If you get the right article that it's related to your area or your field, then you move to the abstract. And then instead of reading the whole article that you feel it is related to you better to read the recommendation and be smart in reading this article. If this article is let's say 10 years ago, in 2010 or before, so don't think much, don't give it more attention because it should be out of date. Try to focus more in the recent articles. Okay, so be smart in reading, also be smart in thinking by finding the key point in that article, looking to the recommendation for future research in the conclusion, also looking for the what is the limitation of this research, looking to the methodology, and so on. And then be flexible. Where sometime, and this is one of the main issues that the student face when they are starting looking for topic to do research on. So let's say the student finds something interested. Let's say they are looking, they found the impact of human resource in the company performance. So they when they found this and they like this title, then when they found something more interested, they will not change because they feel like, okay, I need to stick to the what I found in the first article or the first dissertation, which is wrong because you need to be flexible, open in the starting time. Okay, So now we will move to the second issue that we will tackle today, which is about we discussed the problem statement. The problem statement is one of the main issue. 90% of the writing of the problem statement, or of the researchers who write the problem statement, facing a problem when they write the problem statement. And 100% the examiners or the reviewer in the journal, they will look to the problem statement in your research, because it is the guiding or the direction, guide the readers to the novelty or the originality of your research. So now we will discuss what is the problem statement and how we structure good problem statement. Okay, so problem statement is the foundation of any research study. It indicates the problem and its guide to the questions that really related to the topic. And also it justify the topic and justify your research. So the problem statement provides the context for the research study and typically generate questions which the I do screen. I'm really facing difficulties here. Now someone asked me to share the screen. 1 minute. Now how? Okay. Okay, so the problem statement is it provides a context for the research study, and it typically generate the questions, the research questions that the researcher try to answer it along the research. So we house the problem statement. What is the conditions or that bring the good problem statement? So the first one, is it a problem? Because sometimes the student, so the student finds something in previous research and just pick it or copy it from that research and bring it along to his new research. So the researcher need to ask himself this question: is it relevant? Is this problem that you are doing is relevant? Then also he need to see whether this problem he is able to he's able to address this problem within his time, because sometimes some problems is not manageable. It's not manageable within the time of the research. Or the opposite side, some research, let's say he's in PhD level and he's tackling or he's addressing a problem that is lower level from the not PhD or master level. Because we know if you are sending article to journal, the problem statement is not necessary to be comprehensive. But when you move to the PhD or master level, then you need to be more comprehensive in discussing in having a research problem. It should be hacking the readers, mean it is attracting. This problem should be relevant to the time. So what we have now, we can say that the most attractive topics is coronavirus, anything related to coronavirus, whatever. If you are in the media, and let's say you are doing research in economic, so economic related to the coronavirus. So if you are doing something related to the IT, so the IT infrastructure on the coronavirus pandemic. So all of it, you should relate it and make it hooking the readers. Sorry, and it should be transferable. When I say transferable, means what you are saying it is problem, or what you are perceiving it's problem, the other readers should have the same interest. So because sometimes you are, let's say, you are looking, you find something interested in the previous studies, or something interesting related to your culture and so on, but your culture is very let's say, how to bring, let's bring example of let's say the space, those who are studying the space, but you want to do something research on economic after living in the space, if we live in the space. So that is not related to what we have now. Or maybe let's give the example of talking about forest, whereby you are doing your research in Saudi Arabia, or in those countries like the climate is desert. So it's not applicable, it's not transformable problem, and it should be the problem should be manageable, and also is it up to the level of your target? This one we discuss it because as I said, some of the student or some of the researcher, especially the PhD level, they found something interesting in the published paper or in master level. So when they try to replicate that idea or the model into PhD level, and they found difficulties later on in justifying that, justifying the problem, justifying their models, and so on. Reason, because it's not up to the level of the PhD research. Okay, to simplify, the problem is the difference between what should be happened and what is actually happening now. So, example, in the right now, people are supposedly to stay at home, but people still we have people out going outside. So what is the reason? That's problem. That's one problem can be addressed by the psychology of people. Another issue, let's say we look down everything. It should, the coronavirus statistic should be dropped down, but the statistic still going up of the coronavirus in the country. So there is a difference between what's supposed to be and what's actual, what is happening in reality. So that's the problem should be within this. Okay, so the problem should lead should be the leading among all of the other components of the study. What I mean other components means the literature review, the research methodology, because your problem will shape the variables, the definition of the variables. Also, it will drive what is the suitable and appropriate methodology that you're supposed to use to answer the questions of your problem. Okay, so you cannot bring the methodology that you are desiring and try to squeeze the problem according to your methodology that you are planning to. Okay, so the problem should be original, should be new, contemporary. So example, I already gave this example, it should be like what I bring you to the pictures here, either related in this current time, we have the coronavirus, and we have also the fourth industry, or the artificial intelligence, the reports and so on. So those kind of new things should be part of your study. Okay, so let's discuss whether the problem when we have qualitative research or quantitative research. So if the problem will change, so we will see now. So first we need to define or understand the difference between the quantitative and qualitative research. Quantitative research is it's related to numbering. It's related to the more perceptions, and it is we can reflect it to coding or numbers, whereby the qualitative research is about perceptions, and it's not easy to reflect it to percentage or numbers. Okay, and this one also will help in understanding the quantitative research. It's easy to understand the direction of the causality or the expectation or the prediction of the variables change. So we know that X affecting Y, whereby in the qualitative we don't know. It's maths. We need to have in-depth understanding. We need to have different type of methods to understand what is the behavior of the variables. Okay, so this one in Arabic, so I'll leave it. So what about the problems in the quantitative research? The problem in quantitative research is more to be formal problem statement, which means the problem can be derived by reviewing the related literatures, as well as reviewing the related government or NGO reports, and by conducting an exploratory study, whereby the qualitative research, it is more to be informal, it's not structured, and the problem can be developed by collecting and analyzing the data in early stage of the research. So normally we try to do pre-research or pilot research to understand the behavior. Then from that analysis, we can move to the or we can structure or write down the problem statement in the qualitative. Also, in the quantitative, the problem include at least 2 variables and describe the relationship between those 2 or more variables, whereby in the qualitative, the problem include issues, phenomena that need to be understand and describe or explore, and by looking to the expert or related perceptions. So in qualitative, in the quantitative problem, the resources of the quantitative research problem, either from what is going on in the practice and in the literature gap, whereby in the qualitative we can see the difference is the researcher experience. What this means? It means that the researcher is more involved in the within the problem. Means the researcher need to be close to the problem, close to those who are either by doing interview or by doing close close observation to that company, a particular company or organization, to understand the behavior, not only the behavior of one particular or individual, but understand the behavior of the accumulating behavior of the organization. Okay, so this is in Arabic. So up to this point, we discuss the type of the audit, the type of the problem statement, how different is the quantitative and qualitative. Why I address this, why I try to mention this, because many students who do quantitative research, they write or doing qualitative, they write the same style of problem statement, which is totally wrong. The researcher should understand their field step, where they are standing. If they are doing qualitative research, then they need to write problem statements suiting the qualitative approach. If they are doing mixed method mean qualitative and quantitative, they should know what is the what type of mixed method they are using, and they should also do the structure of their problem statement according to the priority of either quantitative or qualitative first. Okay, how to write or formulate research problem. I will give some tips first, and then later on I will give you some examples how we formulate a good problem statement. First, we need to start with general idea, and then we move to the specific. And also we need to make sure that the title of the study or the research and the study variables dealt directly with the problem. Means we need to cover all the variables that we are dealing in the research. And one of the main issue the student face, especially the PhD student, that they let's say if they have moderating or mediating problem, they miss to include it in their research problem. So they include only the direct relationship, the direct variables, independent and dependent, and then they miss to add the statement of problem related to the moderating or mediating effect of their study. And then we need the student or the researcher need to ensure that all studies, dimension, and variables are included in the problem, as we mentioned. Part of the proficiency of writing problem statement, we shouldn't write longer paragraph. The paragraph should be 10 to 12 lines in length. Why? Because the length that the more you write means you are doing something background, or you are writing something like literature review. It's not a problem statement. Problem statement is more to be you are trying to attract the readers and then bring them with very summarized, structured statements. So you are bringing them, let's say you start to bring them what is the main idea, then you give them the main problem, then you give them after that the justification of your research. Later on we will discuss this in a structuring way. Also, we need to ensure the structure and organizing smoothness of the writing of the problem. So we need to, let's say if you have 3 variables, so you need to start with the main variable, then the second and the third. So the structure of the problem should be reflected based on your model, okay, or based on your research. Sorry. Okay. One thing we need also to have in mind, we need to ensure that all of the problem statement, the statement that we mentioned or the idea that we discussed, the argument that we put in the problem, it should have evidence. And this evidence should be either academic empirical evidence, means from the literature, or from practical evidence. Practical evidence means published report either by government or NGO. Mostly it is more to be statistic about the, let's say, the economic growth, about the transparency of the country. Some studies, let's say you are discussing the corruption in the country. So you need to refer to the transparency report, international report, but it is available every year. So it should be part of your problem statement to show how the performance of the transparency or corruption in your country. In the literature review, in the academic empirical evidence, we need to ensure that the studies that we are having it in the problem statement should be recent, means 5 years and above. If you have something very late, I believe, if you have something, let's say very old, like 2008, 2000 and before, it's really annoying the researcher. And this one I really see in several research that I examine. Students keep bringing some reference for their problems from the previous century, like 1990 something. Okay, if we have no lack of literature, or we have lack of practical evidence, then we may go to the exploratory study by conducting interviews or focus group. And what is the purpose for this? Is just to ensure the existing of the problem in the particular population or the particular area or organization. Okay, because some of the participants, they said that they don't have, there's a problem in the screen. Okay. Please, the admin, if you do we have any problem with the screen? Do you see the slides? Okay, okay then. Okay, I'll continue. And then we have another, other than that, maybe sometime we have, let's say, article in magazines, or we have what we call, let's say, announcement by the government, or sometime we have the speech of the leader, president or something. So that could be part of the problem statement, just to show how important is this issue to the top leaders of the country, or the top leaders of the organization, and so on. So we can include something not necessary to be part of the literature or reports. Okay, so all ideas, as we say, all ideas discussed in the problem statement should have reference, and this reference should be reliable. And when we say reliable, means it comes from refereed journals, preferred to be Q1, Q2, especially if you are targeting, if you are doing planning to publish or to send your paper to Q1, then you need to ensure that in the introduction, which you will allocate your problem statement in the introduction of your research, you need to ensure that most of the references in that table is from the Q1, and you will find, you just need to read. Okay, and it should be recent. You should find recent 3 to 5 years maximum, and it is preferable to have multiple reference. Multiple reference means you, instead of having one reference, you have more than one reference for one idea. It shows that you are reading. Your reading is you are covering the all of the literatures, not only one, referring to only one. Okay. So let me go back. Okay, this is in Arabic. Let me go to the English side. So now let's say how we should structure the problem statement. We should start with general idea, then we go to the specific and more details, and then from where we get the general idea, we get it from general related literature review and referred practical reports. And then we go for more specific, more recent key related literature review. And then we go to the problem in general. We find it in literature gap or literature suggestion for future research. And then we form our research problem. In the research problem, we need to justify, and it should lead or drive to the research question. Okay, we also need to ensure that our structure of the problem statement having narrative hook. Narrative hook means something, the starting statement should be very attractive, should attract the readers. Then you need to have the second part of your problem, either the research topic, especially if you are doing PhD or master level, but for publication, narrative hook is statement is enough. Then you form your research problem, which is, as I said, it is from the literature review gap, and then you bring the justification. Mostly we bring the justifications from the literature gap and from the practical report, just to show, as I said just now. Let's say, let me bring this example. Then narrative hook statement, we will say, let's say, according to the Malaysian government statistic, the lockdown during the day, it's achieved their objective 80%. Means people, the movement lockdown is achieved the objective up to 80%. Mean it's good, isn't it? But the problem that the statistic of the disease or the coronavirus cases still increasing. So now we bring the problem. So now we bring the justification. What is the justification? Maybe we bring some issues related to the economic issues, that Malaysia is losing so much money. We need to find what is the real problem and so on. Or we bring something related to the politics, related to the policies that they are applying, so and so on. Okay, so we need to have this kind of. We need to structure our research problem within in this type of method. We should have narrative hook, perception, fact, value, or the belief, and then we need to have statement or something bring the reader's attention, which is but, however, although, in contrast. Okay, we bring the issue and justification. Okay, so let's have the example. This example is about the B2B e-commerce. B2B e-commerce experienced high growth in the past of 5 years, with the Malaysian market expected to grow to USD 3.4 billion by 2020. This statement is the hacking, is the attracting statement, is the fact or the value that attracts the starting statement, and so on. The next also is like definition, bringing more details about that. Then we need to bring, however, we need to bring the problem after we bring the attention, get the attention of the readers. We need, after that, we directly bring the problem to the readers. However, average commerce revenue per year in the country is still barely a quarter of the global average. Now we bring the issue. Even though we have this expanded growth of e-commerce, but we still lack and left behind the global benchmark. Okay, that is kind of example. Okay, so after, when we have this problem, it brings us to feel we need to answer, we need to bring question. Don't we feel like asking question now after we bring the problem statement? That is the main idea, dear brothers and sisters. Your problem statement should guide you to ask questions. So just now we bring the example of e-commerce. So e-commerce is growing rapidly in Malaysia, but we still have, even we have that, but we still left behind by the global benchmark. So we need, so what is the problem? Why we are still behind, left behind? So that is this one, what we have, well, these questions that we raise, it is the research question. It is the research question. And then if we reach to the research question, means we are formulating accurate or correct problem statement. So the problem statement should be short, smartly structured. It should start with hacking, narrative hacking, or what we call narrative attracting statements, and then it should have problem or issue related to that narrative statement, and then we should have justification for doing research for it, and then it should lead to a research question. Okay, so we will discuss now the research question and research objectives. What is this is another topic, because just now we finished the problem statement. I hope you get something by now. So let me okay, I think we are okay. The research question and research objectives is like mirrors. So if you have three questions, you should have three objectives. Okay, so the research objectives is the reflection of the research question. In other words, the research objective is the answer for the research question. So how to write, how to write research question, what is the tips of writing research, correct research question and research objective? First, it should contain one variable. Each research objective or research question should have contain one variable. One verb, sorry, one verb. It should contain one verb. Let's say, what is the relationship, or what is the effect of let's say top management support into the staff satisfaction? So now we have one verb, and when we have the research objectives, we have to analyze or to examine the top management role on the staff satisfaction. But we some problems, or one of the common issues that some of the students or the researchers, they say to examine and investigate, to study and explore. So we should use one verb in each research question or research objective. Next, it should contain one relationship and one idea. It should be simple. Research questions and research objective should be structured in sequence. from the simple to the complex, means we start with the direct relations to the complex relationship. So let's say if we have a direct relation, means we are testing the role of some the independent variable to the dependent variable. This one should be first, and then if we are having the moderating or mediating, should come next. Okay. And this one is just to differentiate the type of questions in the qualitative and quantitative research. So if we have quantitative research, mostly we will ask how many and how much. But if we will ask indirect questions. But if we are more to the qualitative, then we will ask about what, why, and how to fix, how to do. Okay. Okay. This one is quite important, I believe. To this point, we need to understand how the readers or the examiners or the evaluators look into your research. What is the starting point they are looking for? They start from reading the topic, and then research question and research problem, and then go to the literature, whereby the researcher writing should start from literature review and research problem, then research question, research object. You formulate research question and research objective, and then you finalize your research topic. And one of the problem of this of the researchers is to start with the topic, and sometimes they face difficulties when they find they cannot, this topic is not applicable, it's not doable. Okay. So now we move to the next topic, which is the literature review, which is, I believe, is the one of the common issues that the student or the researcher face. Okay, let me go back. Face in their journey of research. For literature review, there are specific workshop related to how to do systematic literature review, but I will give only a few tips how in the research in the literature review. The first one is you need to ensure that you are not doing a summary, you are doing a critical review. What is the difference between critical review and summary? Summary, you are summarizing what the previous studies do. So you are summarizing what is their objectives and what is their findings and so on. But critical review, you are reviewing how they do it and you are evaluating their work. So you are, after each study you are the review, you should have your feedback, and by then, if you do so, then you will have a proper and right literature gap, which will be reflected to your novelty, your originality, and also will strengthen your problem statement. So this is the tips. First, clearly you need to, in the beginning, you need to clearly define your topic and your audience first. So your topic, if you define clearly your topic, then you will go direct to the literature related to your topic. Okay, so let's say you are doing something related to the auditing in the public sector. So you should just focus in auditing in public sector, not to get literature on private sectors and so on. Okay, so and who's your audience? For PhD and master, your audience is the examiners, academicians, and you should know that they need more comprehensive literature review. But if you are a researcher aiming to send your research for publication, then your audience is the reviewer or the editor of the journals. Normally, we will have selective literature review. We will say you need to be selecting the more recent, the more relevant. Unusually relevant relevant to the topic, relevant to the location. Let's say you are doing something related to the Middle East, so better to focus more in the Middle East literature. Then you need to read and read and read many, as many articles. Please read, especially for the master and PhD student. And please focus on the refereed journals or the top rank journals. You need to focus in the recent literature, as I mentioned earlier. You need to take note while reading literature. Otherwise, you're reading, you need to read again and again the same article. So if you are a classical person, so you need to print out the article and write down your notes over each article. Or if you are not, you can have you can do the editing in the PDF file, in the soft copy. How to do the notes and how to formulate your literature. You need, I suggest to have the mind map or literature review map, as at this slide show. You need to put the main topics, the variables studied. Let's say if you are doing something, you need to compare between two countries, then you need to put one country in one side, other country in the other side, and then you put the variables that addressed by that research. Later on, when you start to write the context or write down the literature, this one will guide you which topic should be first and how you relate it, and it will help you to write down strong literature gap and critical review feedback about the literature. And this one is one of the examples that I used. This one is I direct my student, all of my PhD students, I direct them to do this. I give them this template. I ask them to write down when they review, especially in the starting stage. I ask them, okay, you go and read, you list down the 10 articles that you feel it is very close to you, very relevant, and then you fill up the blanks in this. So you need to write the area of the research, the field, the author, title, objectives, research methodology, independent variable, dependent variable, theory used, and main result, limitations, and if you have any comments, you put in, and then the level of closeness, mean how it's related to your topic or your problem, and then you put the name of the journals and also put the rank, whether it's Q1, Q2, and this one is about references. This one will help the student later on. What I'm doing later, let's say the student send me 10 studies, then I will ask him to put the 11 line, it's about him or her. What is your study? How your study will be different from those 10 studies. So from there, I guide the student and drive him to write or draw his literature gap, and also show how different is him from the previous studies, which will guide the originality of his study and novelty. Okay, so by writing in the end of literature, the student is required to write the literature gap. What is the literature gap? While several studies have addressed this and that, this study focus on this, and it will attend this by using this model. So you need to show how different your study from the previous related literature. Okay, by having this, you will know your novelty, your contribution, and originality. Okay, so what is the novelty and originality, which is one of the main issues the student face when, especially in the Viva session, especially and when they are presenting or defending their research, normally the normal question: what is your contribution? What is your new knowledge? What is new in your study? So that's if you do literature gap, proper literature gap, and then you reflect it appropriately on your research problem, then you will have your novelty clearly and you can defend yourself. Okay, now we move to the topic about the theoretical and conceptual framework. We start with the theoretical framework. Theoretical framework is the analogy to the frame of the house. It means the pillars of the house to the study. So just as the foundation support the house, the theoretical framework provides a rationale for prediction about the relationship among the variables of the research study. Okay, so what is the components or the element of theoretical framework? The variables, type of relation between variables, and reason and justification of this relationship and direction between variables. Normally, we get this theories, established theory from the textbook or the previous literature, and not necessary to find it in the published papers. Normally, we need to, it's not easy to find the proper established theories. And I believe the supervisors should play a role here to guide the student, to tell them which theory they should, the student should have, because most of the students are facing difficulties in finding the appropriate theories. Normally, we can find the theories more obviously on the thesis, the dissertations of the PhD. I prefer you to go to more referred universities thesis like Harvard universities or Oxford universities. You go for it's published in ProQuest. You can find there and try to find the same topic to yours, and you will find the theories that they are using. Then you discuss it with your supervisors there. Okay, so theoretical framework will show us the relationship between the variables, like what we have here, the employee satisfaction and the effect of employee satisfaction and the financial performance. And we'll have the theory that explain this relationship, which is the social exchange theory. So the theory here, the established theory, social exchange theory, is the appropriate theory to explain the employee satisfaction role in the financial performance of the company. And if we notice here in the theoretical framework, we are discussing something general, not particularly to any studies, or it's like general. So you get this theoretical framework from different study, you can use it in your study. You need to, for sure, you need to amend the names and the variables according to your model, but the theory discussion and explanation, the definition is totally same. And then we move to the conceptual framework. Conceptual framework is the set of basic concepts in the research, and it is intended idea of both IV and DV, which are the basic component of the conceptual framework, which means the conceptual framework is more customized framework to your study. So it's more reflective, reflecting your what you are doing. Okay, so the conceptual framework, we have two main dimensions or two main definitions we need to have in the conceptual framework. First, we need to have the conceptual definition of all independent and dependent variables. And then we need to have operational definition. What is the operational definitions? How we measure the IV and DV in the current study. And this one, we can extract it from the previous studies. Okay. So the conceptual framework, for example, here we can see the previous examples. Employee satisfaction in, let's say, in Malaysian companies proceed by blah blah blah, or let's say proceed by the index of employee satisfaction adopted by you bring the reference for that, and then the financial performance in Malaysian listed companies proceed by return on assets and return on equity or investment. Okay, so now we will discuss the difference between, or the relationship between, the theoretical and conceptual framework. The theoretical framework is based on the established theory, and the conceptual framework is a set of concept and definitions of the IV and DV. Okay. It is important to mention this, that the theoretical and conceptual framework are interrelated and intertwined. Means it's not easy to differentiate, because this is one of the main issues that the student face, and normally they ask questions: what is the difference between theoretical framework and conceptual framework? As simple as this: theoretical framework is based on theories, established theory, explaining the relationship between variables in general, whereby the conceptual framework is related to the IV and DV, the definitions, the concept, and also it's more customized to your research itself. That's why in some research school of thought, they call the conceptual framework as the study model or the research model. Some of them, they say operational model, which is reflecting the relation between IV and DV. Both theoretical and conceptual framework are the theoretical background for the study, and both consider the theoretical foundation of the study. So we bring them from mainly from literature, from the related textbook, and so on. Okay, and applying both frames is one of in one study is one of the most difficult to the student. And normally to apply theoretical and conceptual framework, it is the stage of the PhD level and master level, whereby for publication it's not required, and if you have it, you need to just bring, let's say, I'm using this conceptual framework by mentioning something about the definition, how you measure, and so on in your research methodology section, not to give more the discussion on the how you bring your theory and what's the theory's background and so on. So it's mainly for PhD and master levels, and normally it depends in the school of thought, the research school of thought of your supervisor. If your supervisors come from the background of UK or British school of thought, which is the classic, so they will ask for your research philosophy or research theoretical framework and research conceptual framework. If your supervisors come from the new school of thought, which is informal, usually they will ask you for definition of variables, developing of hypothesis, instead of having theoretical and conceptual framework. However, researchers, especially the postgraduate student, they should know this, because later on, if they are facing examiners from the old school, they need to justify, and some examiners, they are very particular to this, especially in social science. They will they may give you a major correction. Okay, so conceptual framework and theoretical framework in if we have different type of research approach. If we have quantitative research, then we will have theoretical framework, more obvious, and then we will have conceptual framework, or we call it less attention give to the conceptual framework, but we will have instead of conceptual framework, we will have something called the study model, and whereby if we are in the qualitative approach, if you are doing a qualitative approach, it will be more to be conceptual framework and less attention give to the theoretical framework. And we discussed this later earlier, that the qualitative research, they are not they don't assume theories. They will generate theories in the end of the result or research. Okay, so this is how we should structure the theoretical and conceptual framework in our study or our research. We should start with theoretical framework, then conceptual framework, then we reach to the hypothesis. Okay, related to that topic is the proposed hypothesis. Hypothesis is based on the discussion of the theoretical and conceptual framework. That's why students, when they bring the hypothesis, some of them, they just bring the discussion of from literature, and they ignore the theories supporting this relation, which is not enough. So they need to combine the literature and also the theories related to their study. And this one is how they formulate the type of theory, the type of hypothesis. We have directional and we have null hypothesis. This is an example. I will not, because we are running out of time. So to finalize, to end my session, let me bring you the main problem. So the main problems that where is the problem is? Where is the problem is? First, is it the student or the researcher? Is it the supervisor? Is it the language? Is it the time? Is it other things? So we have a few issues here. The problem statement, as we said, we have also where to start on the problem statement, also the literature review, the discussion of the theoretical and conceptual framework, and usually the student is having the major part of the problem, where he's carrying the more responsibility, how he should solve this issue. He should read and read and read, and he should ask questions, he should listen, he should master the research methodology that he's planning to do, and then he should ask his supervisors, he should try to attend conferences to master himself, elevate himself up. Then the second person to blame is the supervisor. I am in the position now of supervising, and I believe the way I'm supervising now is totally different compared to the first student I supervised. In that time, I can say that I'm learning from the student more than the student learning from me as a supervisors. And sometimes, so the supervisors, when they accept the role of supervision, they should learn. They should also know the field, update themselves, especially updating the new area, because one of the issue with the supervisors, if they are in their PhD study, if they do, let's say, one approach, and the student come and planning to do new approach, let's say quantitative, and the supervisor's experience is in qualitative, then he just let the student to swim in the ocean without any help or guidance. Language is one of the main issues. So the student and supervisors, they should learn the language of the research, which is, I believe, it's the English. So even you are doing totally Arabic research, you need to have a basic English to help you to tackle and address the issues of your research. Finally, other issues like the system of the universities and so on, the culture and so on, you need to have to be patient and so on. I think with that, I hope you are not at this picture. That's all.